I'm Ken Matthews. Here's my latest podcast. No commercials, no censorship, and as you know, no corporate media narratives. Now let's have some fun and get to the truth. It's my pleasure to have back Representative Brandei Schaefbauer, Majority Whip, one of the majority whips of the South Dakota legislature. And the reason we're having you on, besides you're knowledgeable and a great guest, because you're right in the middle of flyover country. And I want to start reaching out a little bit more to the rest of the country because I'm so sick of hearing what New York cares about and Los Angeles cares about. So welcome back to the show.
Hey Ken, thanks for having me.
So,
I always enjoy our visits.
well, I know I can tell people right now it's going to go off the rails. It may not at the moment, but a few minutes into it, it's going to go sideways. So let's get the elephant of the room right out of there. My background is fake. It's a fake background. I've never used it. I've tried it. This morning, I was looking at my office. It's a dump. And I said, by the time I dust and move everything around and light it, Brandei will be on to her next project. So I said, get me something that has some books in it. If you look to right next to my face there, see that white thing? Doesn't that look like a toilet seat?
I was thinking that.
I was thinking that too. I'm like, does he have an open toilet in that background? But it's not. It's some type of light. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with how the first, 8 months now of President Trump? Has it been 8 months almost? How is that impacting the people of South Dakota in your neck of the woods and the big stuff that you guys do? A lot of agriculture, you do energy. Are things good for South Dakotans at the moment? Is that what you call them?
South Dakotans, yes.
Okay.
Do you notice my long O? South Dakotans.
Oh, no, I don't even need to call attention to that. I don't even need to call. Everybody comments on it. They love it. They love it.
Right.
You are not faking where you're from.
No, born and raised, never moved. So here's the thing. One thing with President Trump being elected again for the third time, right?
Yes.
We lost our governor in like a few weeks after session. So our previous governor, Governor Kristi Noem, now is Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
How do you think she's doing in that? You can be honest.
Okay. I mean,
wow. See what I mean by off the rails? See, we just talk the truth on this show and we're not even 10 minutes in.
I'm sorry. Did you see South Park?
Yes.
Terrible.
I not only saw South Park, I saw the very premiere episode with Trump. Did you see that one?
Oh, that one was terrible.
Oh my gosh. Naked Trump, naked AI Trump.
He's naked in this DHS one too.
Oh, I know. That's going to be the new trend.
Terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Anyway, I guess as well as to be expeced, but that's all I'll say right now.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
We lost her and we got her, her lieutenant governor as the governor. Now we have Governor Larry Roden. So that was kind of a interesting session, to go through, a new governor having a new agenda, but fulfilling Kristi's agenda. So, Larry, or Governor Roden, wants to make sure he's a good old South Dakotan and, praise President Trump, make sure we're free and, we're the best state in South Dakota. Let's build data centers. Let's build prisons. Let's round up the illegals. I mean, you name it, it's coming. So we'll see, we have a special session in September about building a new prison. So that's something we can get into. But, I think South Dakota with Trump being president, there's a lot of expectations that I know, the majority of South Dakotans voted for him. I mean, there was no debate. They were so excited that we actually would get him back.
Oh yeah. Well, they were singing, he was singing their tune, and I think he was genuine in how he felt about that part of the country and agriculture and tech. And there's just been, I think South Dakota is such a nice snapshot of, it's an example of those states that people really, they don't pay attention to because they're way out there. There's a whole bunch of states that are not near the coast that I don't think people realize what happens in those states as far as energy, agriculture, and even illegal foreign nationals as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the energy part, we have such wide open spaces. We just went through, I believe one of my first interviews with you was the day that a private landowner had armed security on his property,
yes,
because he would not let them come survey land for a CO2 pipeline.
The carbon capture
pipeline. Yes.
That carbon capture big debate. I remember that. I've been following that.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much, taking over. They're taking over the state.
Right. Well, so that bill was passed that this company could come in. That was back in 23. Well, in 24, we did a referred law that said, because we have that referred law process in South Dakota, if the citizens do not agree with what the legislature has done, they can refer a law to the ballot. And so it was referred law 21, where we wanted Senate Bill 201 dead. And so they had to get enough signatures before July 1st of 2024 to get it on the ballot, so it wouldn't go into effect, because our laws go into effect when they pass session on July 1st of that year. Mm-hmm. So 60% of the citizens of South Dakota said we want our private property rights, and no big private company can come in and take them using eminent domain for private gain.
Right.
So, but we're still dealing with that, not necessarily with the carbon pipe issue, but now we're getting the data centers. We're getting things that are going to take up our space. Energy production. People want our energy because it's cheap. We don't use all we manufacture, and they want it exported. So that's the other thing. We're, more wind and solar, to get out of our state and help other states with all their energy issues. They also want our water. We have the big Missouri River that cuts our state in half. Mm-hmm. Huge water projects are in the works right now. Actually, there's one from the Missouri River all the way over approximately to the Big Stone Lake, which is that it separates South Dakota and Minnesota. And it's bringing water to the east. Well, Denver wants our water, so they want this water pipeline to go to the west. Well, mm-hmm. that's our water. I mean, you don't make more water, you don't make more land. And we have this big beautiful river that people come and fish on, and there's hunting, and it's a mainstay in South Dakota. But these states that don't know how to manage anything, their resources are wasted, or, oh, heaven forbid, we save a snail and you can't use this water, or we have to turn off this irrigation. They come to us because we have an abundance of it, because we don't have a lot of population here.
What's the number one export? I mean, what's your state known for that people would recognize?
Egg.
Is it egg?
Yeah. Number
that's
one
all.
industry.
Okay, that's why you have all that egg stuff.
More cows than people.
More cows than people.
Yep.
And a lot of the Democrats have egg on their face.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
It's egg. Yeah.
How do I say it again?
Egg, not egg. Yeah. No. Yeah. If you pronounce your vowel right, it's totally
okay. I'll do
meaning.
it from now on. I'm going to pronounce my vowels right when we speak.
Well, if we would teach phonics, people wouldn't have an issue with my name, front and last, or
okay, say it.
Last. It's pronounced Brandei, because
Is it Brandei? I didn't know it was Brandei. Why didn't you tell me that?
Oh no,
I've been calling you Brandy since I met you. Brandei.
But that's my name. It's just that it's spelled weird. But if you pronounce it how it's spelled, it would be Brandei, correct? Neighbor, way.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad did that. He said he did it to confuse the teachers and, well, everyone else.
Let me ask you, is Christy Nome Christi?
I don't know. I think it's Christy. It
Oh
could
my
be.
God. There's so much trouble coming out of this already.
So I gotta
Go
tell you
ahead.
one thing. So when I'm criticized, they don't criticize my voting record or my policies. They criticize how my name is spelled.
Brandei.
Yeah, I'm all full of DEI,
Oh, that's
or
funny.
or they spell it all the different ways that you possibly could. But yeah, they don't criticize my policies. Well, some of them they do because they make sense, but it's mostly the spelling of my name.
Now, what about, now I'm afraid to say your last name.
Schaefbauer.
Schaefbauer. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I've called it Schaef and Schaefbauer before, but
Yeah.
it is Schaef. That's how it's
Yeah.
spelled. So at
Yeah.
least you got the spelling on your last name correct.
Yeah. Yeah. But if we taught phonics, which I think the trend is going back to teaching phonics, we might
I
be
noticed
okay.
that.
Yeah.
I noticed that the whole school thing is, well, the whole dynamic's getting kind of interesting. There's so many, we could talk for hours because there's so many huge issues, national issues, international issues, and then of course the state issues. And I don't know what's going on in your state with AI, but is the Trump administration pushing AI down your throat as well because you have all that land? Because they're doing it in Texas, they're doing it in California. That worries me. I'm not an AI guy.
Yeah. The data centers. I mean, there's proposed data centers all over the state, and some things that, I have a major issue with. First is AI. I mean, we already have a dumbed down population. This is just going to be horrible. And then we also have, like the faking of people and what they do. I mean, you could be talking to Brandei AI right now, and how would you know? It's getting so unbelievably
That is,
humanized that, I mean, if we can, I'll put my tinfoil hat on. AI gods are going to take over humanity, and they are going to control us. Because how can I, who barely knows how to, turn the volume up on my computer, how can I debate or defend that? That's not me who just said that. It's so
oh yeah,
unbelievably.
it's
It's scary. It's really scary.
it's what I find interesting, and something else that's happened under President Trump that's really concerned me, and I take heat from my subscribers and my social media audience because of this, because the whole I call some people the Trump worship team. You know how at church you have a worship team, and there are people in MAGA or America First, which I consider myself proudly a part of, and I have been since the man came down the escalator in 2015. But there are people that you're not allowed to question Trump or criticize Trump. And if he says stop talking about something, you're supposed to obey. And I'm not part of that. But the censorship has really concerned me over the first few months of his administration, about all these different laws coming out about what can and cannot be said about what and whom. I have a real problem with that.
Well, look I remember one of your shows when you said, I'm so disappointed in South Dakota because in 2024 that the anti-Semitic bill was passed. And
Yes.
the gentleman who sat in front of me, Representative Fred Deutsch, was the one that carried it. He's Jewish by nationality, Christian by religion. But I said to Fred, I said, there is no way, unless you amend it to say white, conservative, heterosexual male, will I ever vote for that bill. I said, Fred, you're demonizing everything. And then you're demonizing Christianity, because as a Christian, I believe Jesus, came at Christmas, rose at Easter, and now that's not what the Jewish religion believes. So now if we celebrate Easter in South Dakota, we're breaking the law. I mean, this is ridiculous.
And it's interesting because you say that and people roll their eyes, but it's a fact. I've read, first of all, there's there's 20 something. I forget how many laws have things. How many states have real ID? How many states now have signed off on some level of hate speech law? I think there's more than 30 states, and hate speech is whatever they define it. It's not hate speech is not speech. Hate speech is free speech. Just because you hate it or I hate it or you hate someone, as long as you're not breaking the law. But this is what worries me, and I think there's people in the White House that are getting a hold of MAGA, and they're going in that direction. And now you add AI to that. Now you have a problem. I just read an article in high schools now. They have these AI filters because they're letting kids use their phones in high school, which they shouldn't, but they do. Mm-hmm. And the are you on a boat? Are you on a ship? I thought you're not on one of your yachts. Are you on one of your yachts?
I don't have a yacht.
Because you're like,
I'm not even next to water anymore. It makes me sad.
So they have AI set up. The AI scans the school, and it picks up the same. It's the same technology that the CIA has been using for years. They can capture everything, and then the AI goes through it, and they decide, did you say a word about this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And now they're doing it in schools. So they're going through the kids' computers and the kids' AI. And now they're going deeper and deeper into it. Apparently you said a racist comment, or apparently you made a joke about this religion, or apparently you said this about this girl in school on a text. And these people are being scooped up. That's actually happening now. You're getting called down to the office. Were you on your text today at 10:28 in recess because you said the word whatever? What is that?
Well, what about the apps that now, I just heard about this the other day, that they can fabricate what a girl looks like, take her face and then put out the body dimensions. And I mean, talk about, and then they show these girls, their pictures. And I mean, I remember being a teenage girl and, oh, I wish I looked like that, or I wish I had, that or whatever. And, these girls are, probably just being framed into doing things they probably don't want to do, or their self-esteem, their body image. You don't need those issues, but I mean, think about all that. Oh, I better go get plastic surgery at 15 or something. Or, AI is just scary.
As far as the cell phone goes, there was a study out a month ago. The teenage girls are the highest to suffer from suicide because of that it's being made worse by the cell phones. Because they're and here's the other part of that. We have so foolishly given up so much data online. Here, the father, here's me and my daughter, here's my wife and me at the beach. Now AI can do whatever they want with those images. It's too late. It's too late. Oh. Look at what they did in South Park with Trump. That was too late.
Well, I mean, even think about your political opposition,
Oh, yeah.
I'm afraid what could come out, if they really want to destroy somebody, just put my head on AI, or AI, write something that I did not say. And how do you defend that? You can't.
It takes it to the next level. It was scary enough that if you posted something in 2001, that's going to come back and haunt you. Right. Now, anything that didn't even happen can haunt you because AI makes it happen. There's you in the car. There's you with that girl. How about this? Look at how many people in Congress skip votes. That's common knowledge. Mm-hmm. They skip votes. They have someone else vote for them with the card. And, Congress is covered by media 24/7 most of the time. There's always a camera in there doing something, okay? So they figured out how to do it. There's a little voting stand underneath the overhang, the balcony in the galley. I think it's called the galley or gallery. Gallery, right?
Yeah, I call it the gallery.
The gallery. Yeah, the galley's where you cook. Like if you were on a yacht
Yeah.
moving around. Okay. So they have someone else do it, and then you go back and say, I didn't even see you in session today. Were you there? Oh, I was there. Well, I didn't see you. Now you just get AI to put yourself there.
Yep. Well, and okay, so all the possibility of you know, criminalizing people or yeah, putting them in places where they never were. I mean, what about the cost? Here's my biggest concern with these like potential data centers, and it was even with the pipeline or any of these big projects that they say are going to help economic development. But did they ever think about the cost of electricity for the average South Dakotan? How much that's going to go up? I mean, 40% of electricity already in the United States goes to these data centers, and you know we have energy, and we have energy here in South Dakota for South Dakotans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but and a lot of South Dakotans, I mean, our wages aren't going up a whole heck of a lot, and I mean, we have nice homes, but there's a lot of people that can't afford nice homes, and so they're on this, monthly budget. And when their energy prices go up by 50% because this data center that it comes in because it is supposed to support economic development, they're the ones paying for it, not only in energy costs, but in, well, they can't, maybe go buy a new pair of shoes for their kids or, get groceries. Well, then that, or they can't pay their rent or their mortgage. Then they have
Mm-hmm.
to come to the state for, Medicare or Medicaid benefits, or they go through bankruptcy. I mean, why can't we here in South Dakota use our energy to help South Dakotans instead of, by these monstrosities that are proposed to come to our state, which, yeah, maybe there might be a couple hundred people moving in, to my town of Aberdeen, but for how long? I mean, computers only last so long.
Right.
I know they recycle the water, so they might not use water the way that that pipeline would have. But what is going to happen to the average South Dakotan when these data centers come in?
Well, it's
That
interesting. So many high, tech people, the tech folks, they're in with Trump. And that's kind of surprised me because you look at people like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, where they were 3 or 4 years ago, or even 10 years ago. I mean, some of these people were so far left, it was ridiculous. They were all about green and electric and this and that. And there's something that very few people talk about. And all these companies like Apple, they talk about, oh, we're green energy. They have all the codes and the logos. We're green and we care about the environment. They never talk about what you just talked about and all the energy that the Microsofts and the Googles and Apple, the amount of energy that it takes to run thousands of computers all day and to process AI all day is so far beyond what it would take to run an 18-wheeler or a helicopter or any number of other or farm equipment. They're forgetting it. You see it sitting over there and you see, well, I don't really see any, steam or not steam, but smoke coming out of the smokestack. I guess it's efficient. No,
well,
those things are going to suck the energy right out of your state.
one of the reasons South Dakota is such a uh, desired location for these data centers is because of our cold climate. Well, let me remind whoever thinks that we just live in, the Arctic up here. It's been 90 and humid where you go outside and you're like, I can't breathe. So how much energy is going to be needed and used, and where is the cut going to have to go, when the data centers take all this energy to cool these computers down during, I mean, we have 100 to 110 days sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for the last 2 weeks, it's been 80 to 90 every single day. Whose AC is going to get cut? It's not going to be the data centers. It's going to
No, it's
be
not.
my neighbor, or you know. So I think they forget that we also have heat up here. I mean, and suffering heat,
Yeah.
in our summers. So, one of the data centers that's close to me is in Ellendale, North Dakota, which is about 45 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
They built it. They're waiting to build another phase of it, but they have all this little housing around it, right? So all these people, they're not in town because these data centers aren't located in town. They're not paying in-town taxes, right? I don't know. I mean, I would have to say county taxes, but these people aren't members of the community. They'll have this community of their own because these homes are around the data centers. So it's not good,
Well, that's another thing. And you know who was talking about that? Elon Musk. And he was talking about historically, you remember there were these towns called company towns. And company towns, like I live right next to one, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, used to be Bethlehem Steel, company town. You look at Detroit, you look at General Motors, company town. And there's a big difference between that kind of company town, which actually comes to the town and brings benefits. These new company towns are going to take things out.
Yes.
So in other words, you're not going to need as many jobs because of AI. You're not going to need as many jobs because of automation, because of computers. But you're going to need 10 times the electricity, but you're not going to have a power plant to generate it. And if you do, it's going to be run by robots. So it's basically cutting out the people. It's not like the old company towns when Bethlehem Steel came in and Bethlehem Steel built hospitals and supermarkets. And I have a friend that's in the same house his great-great-grandfather lived in, which was like 4 blocks from Bethlehem Steel. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with, have you been to Bethlehem Steel or that area? It's a casino now because everything's a casino. The
They
whole
need to do
world's
something. Yeah,
what's
well,
that?
I said they need to do something with the
Yeah, the whole world's
building.
the whole world's a casino. But so Elon Musk is saying, and I forget the article where I read it, and he was talking about this is like a company town without the hassle of the human beings. It's like we'll take the humans out of it and we'll build a town around it, and then rich people that run it will live there, and hell with the rest of the people. And this is how a lot of these people think at that level.
And here in South Dakota, like you said, flyover country. Well, they aren't that smart because they, well, I kind of like
That's the quote they're going to take from you.
Yeah,
Brandei.
Yeah, my small neighborhoods, getting to know your neighbor. I mean, we have completely lost that. And when we bring in all these, corporations that are you really benefiting the town, or are you just benefiting yourself? And then you're taking some of our workers, because a lot of people from Aberdeen drive to Ellendale to work at the data center. You're taking those workers out of Aberdeen to drive there. And then if this data center only lasts for the length of the computer, which is what, maybe 5 years, what happens when they come back? Or will there be jobs?
And then when they leave, does it have a negative impact on your, not necessarily your infrastructure, but for example, you see that again. I'll use Bethlehem as an example. Now, Bethlehem is a thriving hip town now. It has Lehigh University. It has universities and hospitals and businesses. But when you take out an entire industry, and when people start moving, like we have a lot of people, and it's funny how you bring that up, because in Pennsylvania, sometimes we have a problem with people that commute to New York because they come here to live, because of the taxes, better. It's just a better situation. Who wants to live outside of Newark or live in New York City where you could live in a beautiful Pennsylvania neighborhood and then just commute 90 minutes?
Well,
But,
that's something.
Go ahead.
That's something that we're finding out in the western part of South Dakota in the Black Hills. Since COVID, that area out there has exploded with people, moving from California. You know how it goes from California to, Colorado or to Wyoming. And then they're sick of the politics there now because all the people from the blue state moved into the red state. Now they're a purple to blue state. Now they're coming into South Dakota. Well, one thing we have seen, our housing prices have gone up so much because people from out of state can pay cash because our housing prices were reasonable. And if they paid the cash is one thing, but if the business that they work for paid the cash, people were getting astronomical prices for their homes in cash. Well, so then that, bumps up the assessed value of the neighborhood. Either one, you can't afford to move into that neighborhood, or you're being taxed
out of
your
it.
Eyeballs. Yeah.
Yeah, you're being taxed out of it. It's funny. That's what happened in Florida. There was a time in Florida. I grew up in Florida, but I haven't been there for over 30 something years. But there was a time where you could go to Florida and get a house you can buy in the Northeast for 40% less and be a few miles from the beach. Yeah. And now the smallest looking ranchy, overgrown yard is like $500,000.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just it. All these people that, their houses are, I don't even know how many more times more expensive than ours, can come buy a reasonable house and or they build a house, and now, like, how when you go into a neighborhood, it should be aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood. We used to have just log homes and, stuff like that. Now you're having all these, I don't even know. I call them
McMansions.
Or alien spaceships that are dotting the landscape that just do not.
Well, in North Dakota, they might be real.
they might be.
How do you know that's not?
That's another one of those. Oh, good grief! What have we gotten ourselves into?
Well, one thing I want to bring up, and I want to go back to Kristi Noem, because is it me? And I asked this on a radio show, and some most people understood it, but a few people were angry about it. I don't know why. But have her lips gotten bigger? And are they frozen now that she's at DHS? It's almost like she got put in charge of DHS. And then, the first month she was doing DHS, she was all in her gear. Did you notice that? She was all geared up. She had kit on. She had a chest rig, armor, the whole, and a hat, a helmet.
Held her rifle wrong.
Yeah. And someone must have said, look, we will let you dress up like you're actually going on a raid, but you're not. But you've got to stop making your lips bigger. That's what I'm thinking. You don't have to comment. You've already gotten yourself in enough trouble already.
Yeah, I better hold my peace on that one.
What? Go ahead.
I will say, though, with South Dakota, one thing that I'll get back to one thing that I've learned being in the legislature is that people would be shocked to know how almost not red we are. I mean, like I said, there are laws that we have on the books that we have passed, like the Real ID, the anti-Semitism bill, some of the bills that, we either had to make sure they were killed or, demonize them so badly they weren't even presented. And they were all bills. And if you follow the money, follow the lobbying, who's presenting them, it's the same groups in all these red states, and they're targeting the red states. And I remember, okay, so the Real ID, like, what is Pennsylvania? Like 20% of people in Pennsylvania have Real ID, 27%. I don't remember.
It is up now. I do know that all 50 states have it now, and but I don't know what the participation is. I don't have it, but it's so funny because it's so overwhelming to push back on this. It's
It
so,
needs to
you
be
try to
repealed.
explain to people and they
Hmm.
say, well, then I won't be able to fly a plane. I won't be able to go on a plane. Well, then make another accommodation for it. Don't keep giving over facial recognition. We didn't need a real ID. A driver's license would have been fine.
Right.
But the feds want us all to have one thing. This is going toward the digital ID, the one ID for everybody in the United States. And then eventually it'll be, we're all human. Why don't we just
Yeah.
have a digital ID for here's a number for you? I don't think people believe this is happening. We're already there.
Well, and when you see who these policies came into our state under, then you're like, what is going on in good old red South Dakota? And when you dig deep, you're like, I don't know how red we are.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think that people are funny. Well, North Carolina is a great example of that.
mm-hmm,
I mean, Asheville used to be it's still a beautiful city, but when I was down there, I went to school at North Carolina State, and I lived probably 40 minutes from Asheville for a couple years, and it was not what it is now. It's like Portland, Oregon. It's
mm-hmm.
woke. It's the trans flags flying and the gay parades in Asheville, North Carolina. Who would have predicted that 30 years ago? Nobody.
Well, that's like, Sioux Falls. I mean, it is just getting to be so big, and the people, they still want big city life, but they want to move into South Dakota, get be in Sioux Falls. I mean, some of the stuff that's, happening in Sioux Falls with, yeah, whether it's the gay pride or, um, you know, supposedly no abortions, you know, it's all going on in Sioux Falls because it's just getting to be so big and so many people are, talk about the apartment complexes,
Hmm.
or I call them the cookie cutter houses. They're all the same and they're all these little row houses.
Yep.
There's no individual markings on them except maybe an exterior variation of tan. um and it's crazy how all this is being built and everybody's just going there, and what's going to happen. Sioux Falls is going to take over our legislature because their districts are going to grow. There's going to be more people representing one
Now, is that
city.
your biggest city?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so I would imagine that's where the battle. I mean, if you look at what Atlanta did to Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
look at what Los Angeles did to California, and New York tries to do it to New. It's so funny because I'm hearing this now. You're telling me about South Dakota, and we think about New York as being like all woke, all lefty. You get out of New York City, it's like the mountains of Pennsylvania there. There's a lot of conservatism in New York City. I'm sorry, in New York State, excuse me. But not so much in some of the other places. Like I would have thought North Carolina was never going to go liberal. Too late. It's too late.
Well,
You got Raleigh, you got all it's the university influence, and I don't know what it is in your state. We can talk about it. The influence and influx of illegal foreign nationals. Now, that influence has impacted the four southern border states, but it's also influenced places like Philadelphia and Charlotte and Minneapolis and Chicago, of all places. So, is that having an impact out where you are?
yeah, actually, we just had a couple ice raids. It's been a couple months ago. Um, and yeah, they were illegals here. So uh, Governor Larry Roden just did a new initiative, and it was called Prairie Thunder, and it's to round up the
Ooh, I like
illegals.
that.
Yeah, Prairie
Prairie
Thunder.
Thunder. It sounds like a band.
Yeah, yeah, to round up the illegals
Round them
and
up.
supposedly send them back. Well, so one of the things that I think you can see that's going on in um, the United States are all these, new prison facilities going up, like Alligator Alcatraz or
That's
in Indiana.
scary.
Yeah, or Indiana, what was it called? The Speedway Slam, or so that's something that our special session is going to debate and in September, and it's a 1,500 bed brand new, right now it's 650 million prison facility. Yeah, well, so get this. This has been voted on, I think, like 4 times in the legislature and been killed. The price tag was at 850 million to start with this last session. Well, in order to get it passed, they had to take the money out of the bill and only have just wording so it could pass by 50+1, because if it had money and appropriations, it'd have passed by 2/3. Well, so kind of funny story. One of the moderate Republicans who, really should just be a Democrat.
That's about a third of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Period.
He accidentally pressed no. And that was the vote that killed the bill.
No! That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Poor guy. But yeah, we actually, so we killed it. They knew they wouldn't get it through. Yeah, by accident. Thank you. Yeah. They knew they wouldn't get it through with the $850 million price tag, because if you've ever built anything or overseen a project, there's going to be 20%. Well,
yeah, at least
overages. Well, now we're done with government that, who knows, it's a free for all sometimes. So now this new task force came on hand, and now supposedly they have it nailed down to a 1,500 bed facility for 650 million. And I mean, we're just one of 4 or 5 states that these potential, prisons are going in. And when this was proposed, I'm like, our corrections secretary, she wouldn't talk about one of the sections. She goes, we can't talk about this. We can't say what this is about. And I'm like, why not? It's a prison. And then I started thinking, wow, they're going to put illegals there. They can't say that outright, but they can house illegals. It's kind of looking like that's what it's going to be, because of some of the conversations that states have been having with Secretary Noem.
Oh, there's 5. I think there's 5 to 7 on the docket right now.
Yeah,
coming off the heels of Alligator Alcatraz. Here's the other thing: I don't know what the number is. Is it 30 million? Is it 40? Is it 45 million illegal foreign nationals? But let's agree on 25 million, which is a pretty legitimate number from everybody. If we're supposed to be deporting, why are we building new facilities? I would think, if Trump was building hospitals, and I'm not to put it all on Trump because the states are involved, but what about schools? What about this? What about you're building prisons? That worries me. If you're building prisons, eventually you're going to get to me.
Yes.
And put me in one.
And I asked how many South Dakotans were in our penitentiary. And mind you, we do have a penitentiary that is older than our state. It's
and you do need, I do know some have to be replaced, obviously.
Yes, right. And then we that's called the Hill, and then there's this addition called the Jameson, which was built. I can't remember, it was 20 or 30 years ago, but it was built to, so you could build up upon it. Nope. We're not going to do that. We're going to build a brand new facility. We're not going to update any of the other areas or maybe our minimum or medium security prisons. We're not going to do that. I'll tell you what. So a couple of years ago, we in my county went with the other northern counties in South Dakota and decided to build a regional jail. Well, I'm a newbie. I really don't know how I should promote this. But we just asked for like a funding mechanism to be able to do this, because these funding mechanisms have to be approved through the legislature.
And you had just gotten in, pretty much.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It 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 didn't go anywhere. Well, but the money that was going to help fund the mechanism was put into this incarceration fund. This incarceration fund then is to go for this big, beautiful prison. Well, I am all about small town South Dakota. I do represent the third largest city in South Dakota, and it's 29,000 people.
Which
But
let that sink in for just a second.
yeah,
For people to, this is really flyover country. However, it's such a big, beautiful state. I keep saying I'm going to get out there and vacation, and my brother's been out there, but 29,000 people, that's like less than a concert at Madison Square Garden in New York. And New York has what, 10 million people now, I think. I know Pennsylvania has 12. Pennsylvania has a population of, is it 12 million people? It might be 12 million, I think. So 29,000. That's pretty cozy.
Yeah, you still know. Yeah. I mean, you know everybody. You see your neighbors. We're still, I guess, considered small town. I mean, now the town I grew up in was like 3,000, so that's really small town.
How big is Sioux Falls?
If it's just Sioux Falls, that one's maybe 200,000, but you get the outlying, suburbs that are all part of Sioux Falls. I'm guessing 300.
Yeah, the metro. Yeah, that's about.
Yeah, I don't even know, honestly. I should look that up. But and then our other.
Well, it's changing, and then you have to add in the illegal foreign nationals that came in during this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, so now let's get back to these prisons. So we have a lot of prisoners in a lot of these states that are working, big ag. They're working the big egg farms that are, approximate to these prisons. So they're getting lower labor. They're getting, I mean, and here's something that I find super interesting. And, again, tinfoil hat, but a lot of our rehab and rehabilitation programs in South Dakota have been shut down for whatever reason. To me, it doesn't make any sense. Some of the women's prison, they did embroidery and making star quilts. They kept the inmates busy. They have
and in some cases they learned a skill, and that's one thing that I would imagine. I mean, you and I agree on a lot, but it's one thing that I think conservatives and I'll let you get back. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think conservatives get a bad rap. People always think that we want prisons to be horrible places, and we don't. We want prisons to, you go there, you serve your sentence, but you leave better.
Yeah.
And you have to put work into that. You have to give people opportunity. Prison is not a place to go, and it's not a place for torture or revenge. It's basically society's timeout, and when you get out, hopefully you can get off to a better start. And we still have prisons across this country that are not that way. They're horrible, dark places. Well,
and the recidivism rate in South Dakota is not good. I mean, we have so many people that serve their time and can come back 2 or 3 times, because when they're there, they're not taught a skill. They're not, I mean, you have to be able to feel good about yourself in order to go out into the workplace. So let's treat these people like they're human beings and keep their hands busy. What is that? Idle hands, are the devil's work. I'm probably butchered that, but
it makes sense.
Yeah, if we're not helping these, and I'll just say gentlemen, because the state penitentiary is the men's prison. If we're not helping them, rehab, whether it's some mental issue, drug issue, if we're not giving them some skills to go out into the real world, they're going to come back. And when they're guaranteed 3 meals and a roof over their head, because they go back and repeat the same dumb crime that they were sent to the penitentiary for, they're going to be lifers, you know, and not death row lifers, but lifers as in they're going to be repeat customers.
And we'll end up paying for that forever.
And I think that's something we need to address before we build this new prison. We need to get our poo in a group and, you know, and figure out why do we have such a recidivism problem.
And it's interesting because we could spend hours on the whole prison thing, because you've got the corruption in the prisons. You've got big corporate prisons now because it's big money. Prisons are big money, and treating humans like cattle is big money, just like treating cattle like cattle is big money. And I think people overlook this. And the conservatives have always been out front with this. And it's usually, I know in our state, Pennsylvania, it's a lot of times it's Democrats that shut it down, because you get corporate, you know how you talk about big ag, and you have like big tech, big medical, big defense in certain states. Well, there's big prison, and the big prison is a big industry, and it employs the security, the training, the equipment, the tactical equipment. And then you have the same expenses that you would have with a hotel. You have linens, you have food, you have HVAC. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money in it.
One of the things when somebody comes to me with a project and it's going to be great for economic development, I mean, you totally turn me off right away, because okay, is it really for economic development, or is it for a few select few that, you know, they go around and, you know, build and promote all these things, and then the people of South Dakota end up paying for it? But when I was approached about this new prison, it will be great economic development for Sioux Falls. Well, like I said, I represent the third largest town in South Dakota, a very rural area up here. Why not, and getting back to the regional jail that was defeated, why not put regional jails around? We could have taken off, you know, I think it was like 200 or 250 inmates, brought them up here. We would have had room for skill making, mental health. We would have had room for a women's, you know, probably minimal security prison, some juvenile detention. But it was, you know, cut. You know, it wasn't even talked about, because the plan was to get all these big, you know, big, beautiful prisons in the big areas to promote economic development. Well, I want economic development in my area, but I don't want something that's forced economic development.
Right. And like what you said was so right on. Whose economic development? The working man, the family of four with two kids to put through college and 3 cars in the house, and one of them's on its last leg, and now you've got to take Uber to work. Is that no, somebody that probably one of the 3 big investment companies like BlackRock or whatever that invest in some regional or global prison facility operation. And pretty soon that's, and
you know, in Illinois, the prisoners are working on a farm that is, I'm sorry, not a farm. Well, chicken farm, beef farm, that's operated and owned by the Koch brothers.
And that's absurd. Why are the prisoners working? Why are the prisoners working at a farm to begin with?
Well, they're lower wages. At least, I mean, hey, at least they're doing something. But this is you don't have to pay a citizen, you know, somebody that wants to just make a living, the right wage. You can, you know, pay prisoners less.
I think this is my belief, and I'm sure we'll get some comments on this, but I think the only reason you should be working at a prison is for restitution or training. I don't think a prisoner should be working so someone on the outside can profit, because that's slavery.
Well, and you know, right? Like here, yeah, I would say so, especially if you're not getting, you know, we have minimum law wages. If you're not getting paid minimum law, then it is kind of slavery.
And Yeah, and if you're not giving those workers benefits, I guess technically you can. I know if you're hardcore conservative, you're thinking, "Gosh, has Ken gone over to the dark side? He loves crime now." No, I'm just saying that we've never really taken our prison seriously. And the reason a 17 or 18-year-old kid he ends up in jail for 2 or 3 years over pot, and he leaves as a broken, savage barbarian because he learned all this criminal skill craft and he thinks his life is over at 21. He's not going to be any value if he doesn't learn a skill or get counseling or discipline. The other thing is how dirty the prisons are, not just not just sanitation, but how corrupt the things that go on in prisons are allowed to go on in prisons, because you can't have crime rings in prisons and drugs and human trafficking in prisons unless there's people at the top looking the other way. And these are big issues.
I've talked to some prisoners and their family members here that say if you complain, their loved one in prison, gets the crap beat out of them, or doesn't get a pillow, or doesn't get their commissary for the day. I mean, there's so much retaliation that people are afraid to speak out.
They're afraid to speak out over anything, let alone snitch. I mean, it goes without saying you have to be careful snitching, right? Because that's a dangerous, but it's to the point where what you said, they had the same trouble in Mississippi. They had the same trouble in New Jersey. And I think they fixed it now. And that is, you couldn't even comment on, this is the same bed sheet I've had for 3 weeks, or, the food you're giving me is out of date by a month. You'd get in trouble.
Well, some of the things that, and I'll fill you in later on why I've been so interested in this. And I'm asking quite a few questions. Some of the prisoners I've talked to were so overcharged that they pled down to serve a less sentence. That there's what their charge was, they should have been away for 45 years. But they're
that's what you meant. Okay.
You get a month, right? So they do these plea deals.
They jack it up so they can lock them up.
Yeah. And so it fills up our prison. It ups our numbers. Mm-hmm. And it also then, this one is going to get me in trouble, but it also pads the scores and the percentage of convictions that our state's attorneys
But that's true.
It is. And
that happens in every state. That's 95% of criminal cases do not go to a jury. If people knew that, we watch Law and Order, we watch all these shows, 95%, they're pled down, not for the benefit of society, because the easiest way to railroad someone is to not give them a jury, not give them a grand jury, not give them a full defense, and not use exculpatory evidence. The easiest way to say is, I tell you what, Dave, you're going to plead guilty to this, or we're just going to say we found 4 pounds of it in your car instead of 3 ounces. Well, you can't do that. Well, what are you going to do about it?
Or give you 45 years for, assault, and you get a slap on the wrist because you finally pled down. Your life, your life is in the headlines. Your life destroyed. People hate you now. Mm-hmm. And now you get a slap on the wrist. Okay, why do we need these huge felonies off the bat? Well, it's so that, Joe Citizen goes, oh my gosh, I can't spend 45 years in prison. I will plead down to, and then get a month or 2 months or whatever. I mean, it's horrible is what it is. It is. It is. We're not doing our citizens a good
justice.
Job.
They're not getting justice, but the institutions that we have looked to protect us and care for us, this is where America is deteriorating at a rate that I wonder where it's headed. For example, I no longer trust the FBI. We have large portions of our population, rightfully so, that no longer trust the police. We don't trust any intelligence agencies because they frame presidents and they frame some of my fellow journalists. They put some of my friends in jail for Jan 6 over foolishness. It would have been a drunken ticket in this state, but they ended up in jail. And then you're talking about the prison thing. The prison thing is a grift.
Huge moneymaker for a state.
Yeah.
Huge. So, one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about are a couple of the bills.
Yes, I know you've got some fresh, delicious bills hot off the stove.
But one of them is, of course, the United States is, maybe coming to our sense to men should not be in women's bathrooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll talk about that one. But the other one that, if we want to go down the COVID trail, so I presented a bill to ask. It was a House concurrent resolution to have our Attorney General sue the nation of China and others involved in the COVID epidemic. And I was called absolutely crazy. How are you going? And it was for $100 billion and to set up a COVID relief fund for the victims. I was called absolutely crazy. And they're like, how are you going to do that? And I said, well, look what Missouri just did. They got a $25 billion injunction on China because the Attorney General Bailey there sued China for
that was smart.
The COVID.
Yes. That was smart.
And so I'm like, this is so easy. If they show up, they're pleading guilty right away. So they're not going to show up. We win. We win. This this judgment, I should say. So that is something that I think if we could get a lot of states involved in this, we could sue and get some recompense for the disaster and the horrific outcome of COVID.
And the denial that continues. The denial that continues to this day. I just went on the CDC website. They're still suggesting 6 months and older for the mRNA vaccine. So it's like, I want to call President Trump and how are you overlooking this? RFK Jr., I think it's great that you're getting rid of dyes and we're going to get rid of what are those streams, the jet stream, what do they call those things?
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails, we're getting rid of those. That's great. I agree with that. But why are we dancing around COVID still?
Yeah. So I've had so many people reach out to me because, they just lost a loved one after their 8th shot, or, they only had 2 shots and they felt the effect right away and their life went downhill. And then in order to ease the pain of not having the life that they had after these shots, they commit suicide. I'm not running this to be outrageous. I'm not doing this because I know everything about COVID, because it's a Pandora's box. But I definitely think the people who put this monstrosity on the world, it's just not the United States, it's the world. They should be held accountable, and that's everybody. China,
and it was a global effort.
Exactly.
To hurt the populations from, Brazil to Australia. Look at the hellhole they turned Australia and the UK in. They were sending SWAT teams to schools to get parents or children quarantined for 2 weeks at a time. We never heard about this in the States.
If we do this right, and I think the states come together, it will be bigger than big tobacco. It could be a massive tort.
I think it's heading there. And it's interesting.
And
it's a great example. Using big tobacco is a great example, because if you told someone 60 years ago about big tobacco, the damage of it, and what would happen and how it would flip and what the economic impact would be, they would have laughed at you. But this is even bigger than big tobacco even if you look at the current death rate, which people are in denial, we're still making up excuses for people still dying from the spike protein reaction.
Well, and one of the I had some help with this because this is, I mean, not my forte, but I had some really amazing help with this piece of legislation. And I'm just like, give me any of the possible questions that might come at me. And one of the Democrats asked, how in the world can you sue China? They're a sovereign nation. Well, guess what? It was one of my answers I had, that they had help from the United States. It's proven. It has now been proven over and over and
Oh,
over.
yes.
So they cannot have sovereign immunity anymore.
Because they collaborated.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And it started here. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
So that
And
was
whatever happened to Fauci? Why? I still wonder.
he in jail? I mean,
Exactly.
he should be on death row for killing millions and millions of people.
And there should be, I mean, I look at all these different people from the CDC to Fauci and, the digging up the facts again. I see the media is trying to run interference for Russiagate, but now all those people have been subpoenaed now, from Hillary to Comey. The question is, will they end up getting justice? Is anybody going to indict them, or are phone calls going to be made and President Trump or whoever is going to go, look, let's move on? I hope not.
I'll tell you what, if something doesn't happen with Russiagate or Epstein, there is going to be, I believe, a revolt of the American people, because we have all been promised that something is going to happen, and we get this little, give us this little nugget, and then it's a pacifier for us. Well, no, I think the way things are going, people are so upset, and they have nothing else to lose. So why not let's just start, a civil war again? But our people, our leaders in Washington have made these promises to us. They're spilling out this evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? Then when we're going to get nothing? No way. I don't think the American people are going to stand for that anymore.
And so much of this evidence, like with COVID,
yes,
it's been out there for years. It's been out there in books and documentaries and testimony, just like the stolen election. We haven't even scratched the surface on that.
Oh,
there better be some people that are held accountable for that, especially in my state and the 6 other states that helped steal it. You had another bill too. You wanted to.
Yeah. So
is this a sponsorship of yours? The bill?
You sponsored
it?
I was the main sponsor of this bill. Yep. And it was because we have this, fear of offending people, because we're telling them not to use a bathroom that's not theirs. I did do a bathroom bill. So now in South Dakota, we have the toughest bathroom bill to keep men out of women's bathrooms. And I was not going to address it in the transgender arena, because one of our representatives, she's married to a guy who's becoming a woman. I wanted to have,
I always have to get this through my head. So
I wanted to be very, I am a nice person and I have a big heart, and
you are being respectful. And
I do want to be respectful, but we also
they're being insane.
Right. We also had a huge incident here in South Dakota where a school board was protecting a boy going into girls' bathrooms, because in the beginning of all this boy wanted to go on a date with these girls, have nudes sent to him, and they said no. So he says, well, for me to be able to see you in your undress, I'm becoming a girl. The school board defended the boy.
Wow.
The two twin girls were like the main, I'll say, victims of this boy.
Target.
Their dad sued the school board. They lost because of Title IX. Well, so my bill is that people now have a private right of action to sue if they find out that something is, not to their liking. If a man is in a woman's bathroom, or a girl's in a woman's, or a boy's in a girl's bathroom, and the school board is doing nothing, a private citizen can sue the school board and have every legal right to do it. But in this bill, I define male and female, and reasonable accommodations in public schools, universities, shower rooms, locker rooms, and in correctional facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the only amendment I even accepted was to put the 2 words correctional officers in, just if they walk by an inmate using the toilet, they can't be sued. But yeah, this is one that is men are, we are protecting women and girls in South Dakota. And that is how I
How's
ran this bill.
How's the response to the bill been?
You know what? I actually had the universities thank me.
Wow. Good for
I know.
you.
I was like,
I didn't expect that.
No, I honestly didn't either. But during opposition, I didn't have the ACLU come. I had one school board member who was a father, or who is a father of a, follow me here, transgender girl, so a boy.
Okay, so she's pretending to be a boy, but okay.
Yeah,
right.
I think there was some surgery involved too, so poor child.
That's unfortunate, yeah.
Yes, and then the other one actually is a constituent of mine who is a transgender woman, who is a man who was in opposition of it. And I didn't have any school boards because the gentleman was not representing the school board. He was representing himself as a parent. I didn't have any school boards. I didn't even have the Secretary of Corrections come in and oppose me. I was asked by the human resource director to cut out the government section. I said, no. That's all. I'm like, nope, not doing it. Our women prisoners need protection too. Men do not need to be in those facilities. And if you have a domestic abuse shelter that is not a privately owned abuse shelter, you do not need a man dressing as a woman going in there and you talk about triggering women all over again.
And that's another scam. It's another grift.
Of course.
And
yes.
and no one, and there's so many topics we can talk about because we just scratching the surface. But I hate this concept that if you disagree with a biological man or woman pretending to be something else and then using it to their advantage or whatever, then you're anti-LGBT. And no, you just keep adding letters to it. Nobody's against gays. Nobody's against lesbians. Nobody's against girls. Nobody's against boys. But you keep manipulating it. And pretty soon, look at there's a case every month where there's a man that transitioned to a woman and now he's in a woman's prison. Sometimes they don't even find out about it. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
And that's why never once in any of my testimony in committee and never once in my floor comments did I ever mention the word transgender, because I was not going to.
Good for you.
This is the issue about, number one, common sense. Men do not belong in women's private spaces, and talk about how defenseless women can be. I mean, men are in jeans or pants, right? Women, and you can stand. Women cannot do that. And so talk about being in a very vulnerable position. And so anytime I made a comment that if they ever put the transgender into their question, I reverted right back to, we are protecting women and girls.
And that's what you are doing. I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Not every woman carries a gun into the toilet, and sorry, that's the only way you're going to protect yourself from, a man who, what is your purpose, first of all, of coming into a woman's facility unless you want to do harm? There are the accidental, oops, I went into the wrong restroom. I did that the other day. I'm like, wait a second.
Well, let's hope you go to one of the nicer prisons.
I know. So seriously, you either have to have malice or something not right in order to want to use a woman's bathroom intentionally.
But look at how far we've evolved and accepted and normalized this absurdity. Look at how far down the road we've got where we're even having the conversation. It's like when the Supreme Court Justice, I forget her name, and she's now on the court. And they said, "Can you define a woman?" And she said, "I'm not a biologist. I can't define a woman." I'm like, "You're on the Supreme Court of the United States. You're going to be judging the future of this country. And you can't say a woman is born with this plumbing and a mammal and a human, and a man is born with this mammal plumbing and a human." She was unable to say that. The fact that we've accepted that.
This is the other bill I ran, was 1260, and it was to define male and female on legal documents, birth certificates, driver's license, you name it, marriage certificates. And specifically in there, it was the definition of female and the definition of male.
Mm-hmm.
And I had somebody flip on me because the first vote, it ended on a tie. And so one gal, Republican, she flipped, and so it lost. And it, they're like, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to define male or female, but we do in this crazy society. I mean, you think about, if you say you're a woman, but you're really a man, and you go to the ER, you're going to be treated differently with medicine.
Yep.
You say you're a man, you're really a woman, and you have horrible abdominal pain. Well, what? Either you're in labor, or you have had like an ovarian cyst explode. And men don't do that. So we have to do this. And then think about all the legal documents: birth certificate, driver's license.
Well, there's several states. I can't remember which ones, but you maybe you're aware of those because you follow this a lot closer than I do, and that there's a whole bunch that don't have it anymore on the driver's license. It just says person.
Yeah. Well, and
what is that? How does that help with anything? Medical, law enforcement, census? How does that help? All it does is hurt things.
And the medical professionals, they'll say it's an absolute nightmare coming into the ER, and you have this, man who was born a woman and, is having horrendous abdominal pain. What do you do? And some of them actually, they say, well, I keep my birth sex on my driver's license for that purpose.
Oh, so, okay. Well, but isn't that interesting that they would do that?
Exactly. Yeah. We're really up, we're really upfront with them when we see, when I see my doctor, I say I was born a man. Okay.
So you're in another level of denial.
Yeah. So you can't tell me. And I, like I said, I only want to treat people with love and respect because we are all God's children. That's how I see everybody. But you need some help.
Yeah. And that's the part I forgot to mention before. As recently as 20 years ago, Johns Hopkins described gender dysphoria as a mental disorder. And if you went to someone even 30 years ago and said, I'm a 35-year-old man. I wish I was. I'm a 35-year-old man. I want to be a woman now. They would go, all right, look, I want you to go to see this counselor. And now they're like, okay, do you want to have your plumbing changed, or how do you want to transition? So they're accepting it, which is obscene. But even more obscene is when the 9-year-old goes to mommy and she's willing to go all Dr. Mengele on a 9-year-old boy and saying, if you still feel this way in a couple years, we can actually give you lady parts.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of my things. It's like, you know what? You're an adult. You're 50 years old. You want to live as a woman? I don't care.
Just stay out of the ladies' room.
Exactly. And don't touch my kids.
Oh, God, yeah.
Do not touch my kids. And I will, I mean, you want to talk about a mama bear coming out. Don't touch the kids.
And again, I always wonder why the Democrats in particular are so obsessed with we have to have this transgender ideology and the drag queen library reading. We have to have it in the middle school and the primary school. and the kindergarten. Why?
Well, they need
Why are you
lifetime voters.
so? What's that?
They need lifetime voters.
But I mean, think about the
Yes,
absurdity.
I know.
The gay men that I know, first of all, you couldn't pretty much tell any of them were gay unless they told you. Okay? I would knock the crap out of them if they came into my classroom and said to some student, "Hey, why don't you come over here, 9-year-old boy, sit on my lap, and I'll read you a story about how Tammy's going to get man parts and Billy's going to get lady parts."
Yeah.
And yet we accept this. Democrats are like, "Oh, no, this is normal. That's a grown man wearing high heels. You can see his junk. And he's at the local diner and the parents are there with the little children."
Yeah.
Please tell me that's not happening in your part of the town or in your part of the state.
Oh no. We have the drag shows, and they are, they put them on the universities, and the universities can disclaim that they are not sponsoring them, which they usually aren't, because we've tried to pass legislation about lewd and lascivious acts on our college campuses. Fail, because like I said, there's way too many Republicans that should not have the R behind their name. They should have,
they're gutless. They're gutless.
Yeah.
They're covering because they want at the end of the day, they want an environment where anything goes. That's the only reason some of these Republicans don't want to be enforcing laws and more conservative, because in the back of their mind, I think they say, someday I may want to do this or do that. It may not have anything to do with transgenderism. It may have to do with financing. But I think that's the biggest problem. We have a bunch of self-serving people in office.
Well, it's free speech, and as long as the kids aren't involved, and I want to say to them, so how much dog poo are you okay in your brownie? Because that's what it is,
Did you just say dog? Did you just say dog poo in a brownie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's good.
It is, because would you accept a teaspoon, a tablespoon, or just maybe a chocolate chip size? You wouldn't accept any of it.
You are correct, Representative. I would not take any poop in my food, let alone a brownie.
But we are okay with just a little bit. We're okay with just a little bit lewd and lascivious things happening on our college campuses that we taxpayers pay for, or we're okay with just, a 14-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy doing the deed, and we're giving this to our 7th graders. We're okay with that. No, we're not okay with this, but it's free speech. They hide behind this fake curtain, but when it's really free speech, they're appalled, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, then they're going to call the police.
Yes. So
how many times do people call the police because there's a loud argument? That didn't even happen 50 years ago. When I was growing up, that didn't happen. Nobody would call the police. The two men would get in a fist fight. Your dad would fight with someone else, and that would be the end of it. There weren't police and lawyers and lawsuits and people losing jobs. Did people be, what happened? Well, he got out of hand, so I knocked him on his ass. I punched him in his mouth. He had it coming. End of subject. Now it's like, I really don't like the way Timmy's looking at me. Timmy, you need to go down to the office. Were you making Google eyes at her? What's happening?
We had, just a quick story. We had a representative here, and maybe you've seen it because it actually went pretty viral. He posted a picture at one of the governor rallies, one of the candidates for our next governor, and he's white. The guy standing next to him is white, and he hashtag white boy summer. Oh my gosh, you thought he set fire in a theater.
What was the problem with it?
How racist. You just hashtag white boy summer, you'll find it. But if anybody knew, that was a spoof on all, but I could probably say white girl summer and be okay with it. No, I probably can't because I'm a conservative. But hashtag white girl summer, I'm holding a white claw, or hashtag white girl summer, I'm a female. I'm okay with saying it, but a man can't say hashtag white boy summer and he's white, he's a racist, he's a Nazi, he's a bigot, he should be kicked out of the legislature, you name it. It was absolutely insane. And I'm like, he wasn't hurting anybody. That is free speech.
That is completely free speech. Yes. It's also free speech when you say something like, for example, I'm tired of Philadelphia news when a bunch of black teens beat the living hell out of some white people at a mall, which is a regular occurrence. They just say unruly kids arrested at mall, and they leave out. But me saying that is not racist. It's a fact.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with hate speech. The problem with hate speech is it's going to get rid of the rest of our speech.
That's right. And then you throw in the data centers. They're probably going to have a speech that we never even said, and it's just going to be a huge.
Yeah. I mean, well, your poop in the brownie's probably going to go viral.
I had to use that on my boys. I had to use that on my boys growing up. When they were growing up, they wanted to go to.
How much poop do you want in your brownie? Go ahead.
Here's some dog poop brownies. There's just a little bit. So, do you want to go to that movie with just a little bit of nudity? Then you can have one of these brownies.
Well, wow, we covered a lot. I want to have you come back on because I
always enjoy it. It's fun.
It's always fun, and let some of your cohorts know. Remind some of the people. I know you travel in and out of the state. You collaborate with other conservatives and pro-life people and around the country. Let them know that this is a place they can come and it's free speech, and at least until the AI zaps me.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, people watch what's happening, the Republican primaries next June, but we've got a 4-way governor race right now, maybe a 5 with an independent. And then
really,
then you throw in the Democrats. But yeah,
you have 5 Republicans trying to run for governor.
4.
Okay.
1 independent so far, and then maybe no Democrat has really declared, but it could get icky because we have 2 great conservative grassroots candidates, and that's going to be the tricky part. Can they come together so they don't split the grassroots? Because
now, are they both? You said they're both good candidates.
Yeah. So one is our speaker, John Hanson, and the other grassroots is a businessman, America First, Toby Doden.
How difficult would it be to get a deal made and say, look, why don't you run as governor? I'll run as lieutenant governor. And if it goes well, we'll flip in the next cycle. How difficult would that be? I know that sounds weird because I'm a civilian, but if they're both that good, why would they want to cannibalize each other so someone else wins?
Number one, it's pride. I'm sure, they each think that they, know what's best for South Dakota. I'm endorsing Toby because he is a businessman. He is not a politician, and he is not going to take guff. I mean, he is South Dakota, America First. And no, he doesn't have political experience. I didn't have political experience. And there's a lot of legislators and, Republican, committee members who have never had political experience, but we are tired of the same old, the lies, the promises that were made, never kept. And it seems like it's my turn. I've been in, I've been in the PUC, I've been in the Senate, I've been in, Congress. Now it's my turn to run for governor, or I'm just owed it because it's my turn. Well, baloney.
And this is the thought process you're talking about the thought process of some of these people.
Some of the establishment.
Yeah, it's payback. It's payback time, basically.
My time is up in the state legislature, so it's my turn to run, and it's my turn to run for governor. And I'm like, no, nobody's turn. You have to earn it.
And then you get the parties. Unfortunately, you have these different groups of people that anoint candidates. And I saw it just briefly. I mean, briefly, like 15 years ago, I was a campaign director for a mayoral campaign. And just that little level of the swamp and the filth of you got to go and kiss all these rings of the donors. And then you got to get on the correct side of the parties and the different constituencies in the parties. And then you have to go and play games with all the different groups. And by the time you get to the person that you really want to meet, the door that you're knocking on, you or me, the time you get to the person, you're just so fed up with all the other garbage you had to go through when all you wanted to do is go knock on doors, get people to vote for you. And then I've seen situations, and I'm sure you have, where people, they're hitting the doors. Maybe they get, all of a sudden they're getting thousands of votes in a primary, but they're not approved by the party.
Yeah. Oh.
Or the biggest donor says, I'm not behind you, so don't even try to run or I'll bury you. But I've got the most votes. Doesn't matter.
Well, that's something that needs to be made keenly aware of. You have these candidates that are accepting either PAC money or lobbyist money, and then you answer to them. And now, I mean, I did semi deep dive. I have to do better, a more thorough dive into some of this stuff. But some of the legislation that we have in South Dakota that has no business being in our state is from, lobbyists who I'm not included in this, are supposed to be good, Americans for prosperity. Oh my gosh.
Not a fan for them. Not a fan of theirs.
Fire. No,
not a fan of theirs.
No. Americans for Prosperity, APAC. Where does that lead to?
Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
That's for an entirely different show. But I got to tell you, people, they have the logo. You get the stuff in the mail. And another thing, some of the people that we admire, like I still admire Steve Bannon. Okay. You will see people like Steve Bannon or people like other not lobbyists, but politicians and former White House people. They will go to these events because they're paid to speak at these events. So you're watching this event and you're going, wow, Steve Bannon's talking at whatever, at this organization or this meeting. It must be pretty good. I mean, if Bannon's there, Bannon's a pretty straight shooter. And then you find out they're paid speakers most of the time, but the organization itself, they couldn't give a damn about Bannon's ideals or America's first ideals. They're out to make money.
Well, and that's something that I have committed to not doing, is taking lobbyist money. I'll take, maybe money from, like people I help with a bill on or whatever. They'll send me a couple $100, which maybe buys maybe my stamps for, the campaign. But these big lobbyist groups that are, they sound all great because they're so South Dakotan, but when you follow the little rabbit hole and then you see, the connection between, AFP, APAC, Koch brothers, you keep going. And
all of them.
I'm seeing so far away from it, and I will not vote for any governor candidate that accepts money from them.
And I look at some of these organizations that came about during Trump's the end of his first term, when they realized, damn it, he's probably going to win in 2020. He did a pretty good job. Let's see if we can get COVID going to shut this guy down. But that's another day, too. But he was on a roll. Trump was on a roll in his first term. 2018, 2019, things were pretty solid. And I think the writing was on the wall. He was going to get elected again because people liked what he was cooking. And that's when all these Republican organizations came out, like the Lincoln Project and all that crap. And they started going on Fox and all the different shows. And they weren't quite attacking Trump yet, but they were planting the seeds for it. And those of us that were paying attention, we could tell. We're saying, wait a minute, that guy isn't free speech. That guy isn't pro-life. And pretty soon, and then soon as Trump came back strong, they just turned on him completely. Turned on him. Like right now, there's thousands of Republicans in Washington that are trying to get rid of this guy.
Well, and that's something that I see between, I'll just call them the two grassroots candidates, is that they're I'll call them followers. Oh boy, Trump's bad on this one ticket, this one side, and this is Trump all the way. And then you get into, I call it this righteous test, this litmus test of who's the most righteous. And
give me some examples. Give me some righteous examples. I want to hear this because this is happening all over the country.
It is.
In Pennsylvania too. The MAGA is splitting.
Yes. So Toby, he, like I said, he's a self-made man. He's he's a car dealer. He owns car dealerships. He owns multiple businesses. And here's something really great about Toby, is that all the money he's made off of his businesses, he's put back into the state of South Dakota. He doesn't do, investments and stuff outside of the state.
Wow, that's impressive.
The majority of his profits come back to, especially Aberdeen, to beautify Aberdeen. He bought up all these just gross apartment buildings, gutted them, and now they're beautiful places. But then of course he's tagged the slumlord because people lived in them. He had to kick them out to gut them, and I shouldn't say kick them out, but they had to find someplace else.
Well, Trump went through the same thing.
Yeah.
If you try to make an area nice, and some people have to change their standard of living, even though they were contributing to some of the stuff, nobody's perfect, but that's that dynamic about real estate. I used to sell real estate. People don't understand that. Nobody wants someone coming into their neighborhood and living like a slob and a pig and being disruptive and being a criminal. So they're going to try to get him out of there.
Right. And some of the other businesses, he owns video lottery games or video lottery machines in liquor stores. Well, now he's, he's an evil person because the people that go into those liquor stores and buy the liquor and and smoke and gamble, well, it's Toby's fault that their families are affected. I'm like, okay, that is a ridiculous argument because it's the personal choice of the person doing that. Then you have, on the other side, you have, well, he and I don't want to say anything too disparaging about John because he is a great guy, but he's got 6 kids. He's been in the legislature for 10 years. It's his turn,
So he's kind of the establishment, right?
Yeah.
So which one is more Trumpian? Toby?
Oh, Toby.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So before we have to go, I need to tell you about one of the things that are sweeping the nation is, the school choice bills, the ESAs and stuff like that. And so that came to South Dakota. Huge deal. People want school choice. People want to take their kids out of the public school systems. They want to homeschool. Well, this was a major split in the conservative base because the bill that was run, which was backed by AFP, first line said curriculum will be it has to be approved by the Department of Education.
Well, there you go. That shoots that down.
I'm done. And this was like a 2 to 3 page bill right away.
Yep.
And when that bill could not get the votes, got a 14-page amendment.
A 14-page amendment.
In one day. So remember when I said my amendment for my bathroom bill needed correction officers? That took 3 days to put 2 words into my bill. 14 or 15 pages, I can't remember, came in one day to the school choice bill. And it was even worse. But you can't tell me that this wasn't already prefabricated.
Yeah.
But it split the conservatives because we had 2 different school choice bills. I wasn't going to vote for any of them.
Hmm.
because well, I will not give the Department of Ed the control of the curriculum.
No, they've had too much
No,
power, and I thought, and I was hoping that President Trump had a handle on this. But are they still going to be in our face now, or I thought that was going away eventually?
well, it's the state level.
Oh,
The
you're talking
secretary,
about the
yeah,
state
yeah,
level.
the
Okay,
state,
my
the
my
state.
mistake. I
No,
was thinking
so
federal.
no,
Sorry.
so
Okay.
it gave the state secretary of education the authority to approve curriculum.
In
No
your
way.
city or district. Okay,
Well,
got it.
yeah, or your homeschool, all of them would have been under this, or my
Okay.
private Catholic school or Protestant school. No way,
Yeah,
no.
that's ridiculous. The
And
whole
then
concept of them telling us what to think, how to think, what book to read,
what
when you
I'm
think
supposed to teach
about
my
it,
kids, yeah,
yeah, it really is now that you look at where we are in 2025, it's really frightening. And if you look back to the different generations, and I'm a baby boomer, um, we screwed a lot of stuff up
mm-hmm,
because of
yeah,
the way we were raised to think and to interpret. And then now that we're stepping back over the last, say, 15 years and we're saying, wait a minute, that was a lie, that was a lie, that was a lie, that was a lie. How are we going to undo this?
yeah.
Right?
Well, I tell you what, if we keep going, and not only in South Dakota, if we keep splitting the grassroots, whether it's on policy or with a governor's race, I mean, the Democrats and the rhinos, the establishment, are going to be in control. And what who's gonna want to continue?
Well, it's
Because it
it's
just
interesting because, excuse me, we had a setback. We're having some setbacks with Trump and some of his ideological advisors, if you will.
yes,
And that is a dream come true for the Democrats, because the Democrats, they stick together no matter how horrific something is, or it doesn't matter. People say, I'm a Democrat.
yep,
And Trump was the first person to come in and get rid of the Republican and Democrat. And people were saying, well, I'm MAGA. I'm American first. I don't care who's doing this as long as they're going to do what Trump's doing. Now that we're splitting, you're absolutely correct. I don't know what the next round is. Do you think they'll ever let another Trump type person in? No.
no.
And the
Well,
Republicans will be the first to stop it.
and that's something that I continually say to my constituents, and probably about every floor speech I make, is that South Dakota, I put South Dakota first, not some federal agency, not some federal whatever. It is this best for South Dakota. You're supposed to you represent your district. Well, my district, the last time it was checked, was 53% pro abortion. There is no way on this earth that I would ever vote to represent my district in that example. No way.
Mm-hmm.
I will do what is, I mean, first of all, that's a moral issue to me, scientific and moral issue. But no, I'm going to do what's right, what's what our constitution says, and what's best for South Dakotans. And abortion is horrible for future South Dakotans, but I represent South Dakota first. Whatever is the best for South Dakota. My allegiance is to South Dakota and to America. It's not to anybody from any other country, any other organization, any person. If it's not good for South Dakota, and if it's not good for the United States, forget it. And if I don't get reelected because of it, well, I don't care.
I'm sure you'll find a job if you need one. I'm sure there's an I'm sure that no, I'm seriously, I'm sure there's enough people in South Dakota that feel like you do.
There are, but here's the other thing. A lot of people don't want to speak up about it because they don't want to end up we have this stupid blog that, is supposedly a Republican, but he absolutely obliterates any conservative.
Well, that's yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
you
like
don't
I
want to
said,
speak
it's
up.
always the Republicans.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you
we
go
eat our
back,
own.
you go back to when President Trump started in 2015, the last decade, go all the way up to this year. It's always been Republicans, high profile Republicans, that have stabbed him in the back.
Yep.
Whether it's Lindsey Graham or Mike Pence or Mitt Romney or Chris Christie, it's always these heavy hitter Republicans that we all thought were Make America Great Again or American Firsters. It's always the Republicans. It's the Republicans at the Lincoln Project that like you said, they have a blog or they have a newsletter, and they're designed to split Republicans when, as you said, they're probably Democrats anyway.
Right. If we're honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I don't get reelected, I don't care, because it's not a power trip. It was that, I'm a mom who was mad at what was going on, and, I thought I knew my state. And I tell you what, a lot of people are being shocked at what they're finding out is going on in South Dakota. And they're like, okay, we can't take this anymore. I mean, we had like 34 brand new House members this past session. When I came in, there were about 30. People are upset of what's going on. Most of them were not prompted by some big corporation or whatever to run. There were quite a few. But I mean, citizens are getting upset as to, or they are upset as to how things are and what policies and laws are enacted, and they're going to do something about it. So I hope here in South Dakota, we grassroots can stay together and not have a absolute cluster when it comes to our governor's race.
That's gonna be the key. That was one of the best things that came out of the MAGA movement. You saw people like yourself, and I saw businessmen, and I saw some people that I would think would never want to even get involved in it. And then the other thing too, some people are in it to make a living, which if you're getting in it to make a living, I mean, get another government job then, because we need a bigger heart.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a politician, there's plenty of government jobs. Like right now, ICE is offering a $50,000 bonus. I just looked that up because I could use that bonus, but I am 25 years too old for ICE.
Oh, I thought they took off the age requirement, or maybe that was
they took off the low end.
Oh, okay.
They lowered it to 18. Yeah. And you can be up to 40, or it's 38, and then they moved it up to 40 if you're in the military, which is understandable. I know a lot of 40-year-old guys that, could kick some butt. But then I also know a lot of 35-year-old guys that my wife could beat the crap out of them. And most of them are liberal. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if you want to make a living, then do that. But if you're thinking, boy, I'm going to get rich being a congressman, that's a mistake.
You're in it for the wrong reason. That's one thing I like about Toby also. He's using his own money, and he's not going to take a salary.
Wow. Sounds like Trump. Again, the Trump thing.
Yep.
Wow. So, I'm going to have to have Toby on the show.
You know what? I have a couple people you should talk to, because
okay, yeah, you should get him on the show.
Yes. Yeah.
It's hard to believe another election year is coming up, but I would love to have, I would love to know the governor of South Dakota, maybe visit, hang out, Now, tell me about Toby's lips. Are they bigger or smaller than Christie's?
I haven't paid attention, but
okay.
I'm just going to guess smaller.
Okay. All right. I just thought we'd wrap up with a laugh. I mean, of all the people.
Next time I see him, I'm going to look.
All the people I'm picking on, that he's the most powerful law enforcement officer in the United States.
You better watch out,
I'm picking on her lips.
Yeah. You don't think somebody knows that you're talking to me?
I'm sure this has come up in an algorithm like 10 times. DHS,
probably.
Christie, APAC. It's up.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I hope you have a great day. Thank you again, Brandei.
Brandei, yeah.
Schaefbauer, Representative and Majority Whip. Whip It Good. Do you ever play that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, actually, somebody goes, so what does the whip do? And I'm like, well, I just know what I didn't use a whip. I used a wooden spoon on my boys' rears. But that's the only thing I know what's going on.
But there's a couple songs out there called Whip It. You should play them like at the beginning of the session or whatever it's called. I mean, don't they do that stuff? Do they do that stuff? Don't they play music and stuff and kind of get in the mood and with the legislature? I've seen that happen before. No?
No. I guess I wasn't invited to that party. So no. I don't know. But yeah, I always love talking to you, Ken, and you're fun to talk to. You're so full of knowledge, and I love your podcast, and I definitely I will send your contact information or send you some contact information. I think people that you need to talk to, I think that would be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Have a super weekend, and thanks again for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Ken.